You never forget the way silence sounds when everything you've built gets torn out from under you. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It doesn't come with shouting or slamming doors. It comes with a short meeting, 10 minutes, maybe less. It comes with sterile words like restructuring and cost optimization, said by someone who's never once rolled up their sleeves and stayed until midnight to fix what others broke. They said my position had been made redundant. Redundant. Way more ones. After 18 years, my name is Marcus Vale. For nearly 2 decades, I gave my life to Haven Tech Solutions. Not in the way that sounds poetic. I actually gave it my life missed birthdays, sleepless product launches, MS, meaning, bug patches. The kind of dedication that doesn't show up on quarterly reports, but holds the whole damn system together. I wasn't flashy. I didn't play golf with the board. I didn't schmooze or sell smoke. I built systems that worked, quietly kept the wheels turning while others took the credit. I wasn't the guy in the magazine. I was the guy who made sure the guy in the magazine didn't miss his deadlines. They thought I was a cog, replaceable, forgettable. But let me tell you something that every empire builder eventually learns when you remove the keystone. The whole arch falls, and I was the keystone they never knew they needed. Until the day I walked out carrying a cardboard box filled with loyalty they'd never earn again. I remember that day like it's stitched into my bones. My daughter Lily had left a small sticky note in my briefcase that morning. "You've got this, Dad. You always do," in her 10-year-old handwriting, round and uneven. I stared at that note for a long time after they walked me out. Sat in my car, not crying, not angry, just a hollow like something sacred had been violated. That job wasn't just a job. It was where I'd built my second family, the engineers I mentored, the late nights eating bad pizza while solving impossible problems. The breakthroughs, the breakdowns, it was all real. It mattered, but it didn't matter to them. Not to Preston Lyles, the newly appointed CFO with his polished Harvard smile and a PowerPoint fetish. He looked at my salary like a red line in a budget instead of the price of trust, consistency, and quiet leadership. He never even asked what I did before marking me for elimination. Preston had numbers to hit. He was right-sizing the organization, which in corporate speak is just a cleaner way of saying cut the ones who won't scream. I didn't scream. I packed my things. I shook hands. I left with dignity, but I carried something with me that they didn't count on. Memory. I remembered every server we'd stabilized, every client we saved, every workflow duct-taped back together until the next budget cycle. I remembered which passwords still worked. I remembered the undocumented fail-safes, the handshake deals, the tribal knowledge they never thought to write down. And I remembered who really made Haven Tech successful. It wasn't Preston's spreadsheets. It was people like Olivia and Dom and Annika, the ones who stayed late, who got up early, who solved the crises no one else even knew existed. People they were planning to cut next quarter. I didn't want revenge. I wanted peace. But the road to peace sometimes walks straight through fire. 3 days after my termination, I got a call from a former client. Not a big account, just one of those long-time, mid-tier partners that never made headlines but brought in consistent revenue. They'd received an automated email from Haven Tech, notifying them that their point of contact had changed. That contact was me. They weren't happy. "You're the reason we stayed through the last outage." The client told me, "Now we've got some intern asking for root access. Marcus von Montebernatia. Are you still consulting?" I paused. Consulting. That word rang like a starting bell. I said, "Not yet, but I could be." By the end of the week, I'd filed paperwork. Vale Systems Consulting. Just me, a laptop, and a phone full of real relationships. I didn't pitch. I didn't beg. Why should I ship in me in the I just answered calls, and they came one by one. Get domich, curious. Frustrated voices from companies Haven Tech had taken for granted. I never made promises. I didn't undercut prices. I just listened, and when they asked if I could help, I delivered better than I ever had. Because this time, I wasn't building someone else's castle. I was laying the first bricks of my own. Meanwhile, Preston's machine started shaking. Their Tier 1 clients weren't getting answers. Their back-end tools began misfiring tools I had personally coded years before with custom parameters that no one else ever understood fully. They patched things. They blamed vendors. They made excuses, but their cracks were showing. Dom reached out to me discreetly. He was next on the chopping block. He said he'd seen the list. We met in a quiet diner off Route 78, over coffee and silence. He told me everything about how Preston had stripped away the redundancies without realizing those were the only things keeping the system from collapsing, about how morale was in free fall, about how the engineering team had lost all faith in leadership. I asked him a simple question. You want to build something better? He didn't hesitate. Yes, one Sam did. Over the next few months, more of the quiet builders joined me. I didn't steal them. Haventech pushed them. And the clients followed because relationships, real ones, aren't built on pricing sheets. They're built in the trenches. Every new contract we signed was like another brick in the wall between us and the people who thought we were expendable. And then came the call I'll never forget. Preston, he sounded tired, less confident. Marcus 40 to so many ones, he said. We may have been too hasty. I let that hang for a second. He continued. The board's concerned, we've had significant client attrition. I think we could benefit from your insights. Perhaps a strategic partnership. There was a time I might have considered it, but not anymore, I replied. I don't do partnerships with people who don't value people. He tried again, offering equity, offering a board seat, but I didn't need what he was selling. Because I'd already won, not with lawsuits, not with public statements. I won by building something real again. But this time, it was mine. And when Haventech's quarterly report leaked, showing a 43% drop in client renewals, with several high-profile contracts transferred to Vale systems, that's when the world saw what Preston refused to see. They'd cut me loose to save money. But what they really cut was the heart out of their own company. And that's a debt no balance sheet can cover. I didn't gloat. I didn't post cryptic messages on LinkedIn or send emails to rub salt in open wounds. That's not who I am. And frankly, when you're building something that matters, you don't have time for petty theater. I just kept showing up, day after day. Early mornings spent drafting architecture that wouldn't crash under pressure. Afternoons mentoring the young talent that Haventech used to overlook. Late nights running simulations with Dom, Olivia, and the rest of the crew, some of them now working from across the country. Tied together not by an employer, but by purpose. We weren't chasing headlines. We were earning trust, slowly, methodically, like the way you sharpen a blade. And the irony, we didn't even mean to take them down. We were too busy building something better. But clients aren't blind. They know when something's real. When someone picks up the phone at 10 p.m, enter me is Sermer ones on a Saturday. When you deliver on your word without needing 17 approvals. When you care not because of the contract, but because it's the right thing to do. Word spread. And with each new call, with each referral, with each client who said, we followed you because you never let us down. Something inside me healed. Not just the wound of betrayal, but something deeper, the quiet ache of years spent undervalued. I remembered a quote I once read, maybe from Drucker, maybe from Carnegie. It doesn't matter who said it first. People leave managers, not companies. But I'd learned something even sharper. Clients leave systems when they stop seeing the humans behind them. Haventech forgot the people. And the people remembered that. 3 quarters later, I sat across from Daniel Chu, CTO of Ecliptic Networks, in a meeting I never expected to happen. They were one of Haventech's last cornerstone accounts, the kind you don't lose unless something's gone very, very wrong. Daniel looked at me, shook his head, and said, we should have come to you months ago. I nodded, not to gloat, but because I understood the hesitation. Change is hard, especially when trust has been broken so many times. You're not sure it can ever be rebuilt. He leaned in. We're looking for more than a vendor. We need a partner, someone with roots, not just reach. I said, then you're in the right room. When that contract came through, something shifted in the industry. We weren't just the ex-employees with a grudge. We were the new standard. Meanwhile, Haventech was unraveling. Their newest leadership initiative backfired. Layoffs turned into resignations. Clients ghosted. And investors started asking questions that couldn't be answered in bullet points. Preston resigned under pressure. The board issued vague statements about strategic missteps and renewed focus on culture. But it was too late. You can't retrofit loyalty. You have to earn it brick by brick, day by day. And you sure as hell can't fire your way to greatness. That's the thing no spreadsheet will ever show. The magic isn't in the numbers. It's in the people who care enough to fix the broken pieces at 2A. The ones who show up even when the sky is falling. And I had those people at Vale Systems. We didn't just build software, we built belonging. We held Friday huddles where wins were shared and credit was public. We celebrated birthdays. We mentored interns who never had someone believe in them. We even brought back Jennifer, the HR director Haven Tech laid off right before me. She cried in her first team meeting, not because of sadness, but because for the first time in years, she said, she felt seen. That's what we were really building. Not just a company, not just contracts, but a culture rooted in faith, discipline, and human dignity. I remembered my daughter's sticky note again. You've got this. Dad, you always do, indeed yeah, dirty. She was right. But not because I was invincible. Because I refused to let the betrayal define me. I let it refine me. And now every dollar of revenue, every client testimonial, every handwritten thank you note from a new partner, we earned it. Not through vengeance, but through vision. The final blow came a year and a half after I left. Summit Ventures, a holding company with deep roots in tech, announced they were acquiring Haven Tech's remaining assets at a deep discount. The headline on Tech Signal read, Haven Tech's collapse signals new era of relationship-driven tech solutions. And buried in the article was a quote from an unnamed board source. We underestimated the impact of cutting legacy leadership. Some decisions can't be undone. But I wasn't interested in their regret. I was interested in the future. The week after that article dropped, I stood in front of our full team, 57 people now, and announced our expansion into Europe. There were cheers, applause. Then Dom asked me the one question that stopped the room cold. Boss, was it worth it? I looked around. At the new engineers, the interns from underfunded schools, the veterans who finally felt safe again. And I said, it wasn't just worth it. It was necessary. Because some things you only find after they take everything from you. Some things only rise from the ashes. And sometimes, sir, you don't burn bridges. You build new ones. Wider, they're wicked, but sure, stronger. Bridges no one can tear down. We never said the word revenge aloud. Not once. Because that wasn't what we were after. But every milestone we reached, every former client that reached out to us quietly, every time we heard, we just didn't feel heard anymore. It felt like vindication without bitterness, like justice without needing to swing the sword ourselves. That's the difference. Isn't it? Revenge is loud. It demands to be seen. But redemption is quiet. It works in the background. Until one day, everyone realizes you're not where you used to be. You're 10 steps ahead. Standing in the light they tried to block from you. I remember one afternoon vividly. I was sitting on the patio of a cafe downtown, sipping a black coffee and reviewing proposals for our second HQ. Across the street was Haven Tech's old building, now empty, dust on the windows, for lease signs curling in the sun. I didn't smile. I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt still. That building used to hum with purpose. Now it whispered warnings. Warnings to every leader who forgets that people are the infrastructure beneath the numbers. That culture is not a slide deck. That cutting corners often means cutting out the very foundation you're standing on. I closed my laptop and looked up at the sky. Clear. Mayor. Limitless. Exactly how the future felt now. You know, what did they used to say I was too patient, too methodical, that I didn't scale fast enough, that I was too loyal to legacy practices. Funny thing is, all those flaws turned out to be the reason people trusted me when the storm came. They didn't follow me because I was flashy. They followed me because I was faithful. Faithful to the work. Faithful to the team. Faithful to a vision that didn't treat people like data points on a reorg chart. When I gave the commencement speech at my alma mater a few months later, I told the graduates a story, not about betrayal, about becoming. I told them that the worst day of my professional life didn't destroy me. It revealed me. That there will come a day when someone questions your value based on what they don't see on a spreadsheet. And that day, that's your opportunity, not your ending. I told them what I wish someone had told me. Let your dignity be louder than their doubt. Let your discipline be sharper than their dismissal. And when they bet against you, don't shout. Don't fight. Just build. Build something they'll never understand. Because it was never made for their world in the first place. That's what Vale Systems became. Not just a company, a signal. A signal to everyone who ever sat in a cold room. Hearing cold words. Thinking it was over. It's not over. When I'm walking in ornament. Not even close. In fact, that might just be the beginning of everything you are actually meant to create. I walk into our new headquarters now, glass walls. Open space. Filled with laughter. Ideas. Purpose. And I see more than desks and computers. I see stories. Survivors. Dreamers. Dom's leading R&D now. Olivia heads up client transformation. Jennifer's reimagined HR into something that feels more like mentorship than management. And we've just onboarded our 100th team member, a young developer, who once emailed me after reading about us online, saying, I want to work somewhere where people matter. Do you have room for one more? We always have room for one more if they bring heart, if they bring humility, if they bring the hunger to do things the right way, not just the fast way. And as I stand in the center of this new world we built, I realize something else. This was never about proving them wrong. It was always about proving that we were right. That people first isn't old-fashioned, it's revolutionary. That slow and steady isn't weakness, it's sustainability. That decency in business isn't naive, it's non-negotiable. You cut me loose to save money. But what you actually did was cut yourself away from everything that kept your company alive. And now, one-to-one, now the world sees it. Now the clients feel it. Now the numbers prove it. You built with fear. I built with faith. You gambled on algorithms. I invested in people. You calculated profits. I cultivated purpose. And that is why I'm still here. Not to celebrate your fall, but to continue rising brick by brick, breath by breath, in a business that finally reflects the values I refuse to compromise. So if you're watching this and someone has told you that you're obsolete, that you cost too much, that your time has passed, let me be the one to tell you the truth. They don't get to decide your value. You do. And when the time comes to walk away, don't carry anger. Carry clarity. Carry everything they failed to see in you. And build the kind of life, the kind of work, the kind of impact they could never measure. And when they try to come back with apologies and offers, smile, wish them well, and keep building. Because nothing haunts the ones who underestimated you more than watching you rise without them and never looking back.